my stream here.
I don't want to say now to
I'm waiting for it to pop on here. There it is. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I am your host, Iceman 3rd ID. Today we're going to be solving the reaction faction puzzle. Not necessarily today during this live stream. Hey, Boondock, what's up, buddy? Mr. Shadow, what's up? We're going to wait for the chat to populate a little bit. We're going to wait for people to show up and start watching. We've done the sound checks that we could. Mr. Shadow, Wout Peters, what's up? We've done the sound checks that we could. You know, that while we weren't streaming, you know, just to test it out. But we're going to do a sound check right now and see if everybody can hear everybody else. So I'm Iceman 3rd ID. We've got Colt C on with us. Say hi to everybody, Colt.
How's it going?
Can everybody hear Colt very well? I hope you can. We've got Ty Beecham on. Say hi to everybody,
hello.
Ty.
Hello, everybody.
There you go. And we've also got Daffy on here with us. Daffy?
Hello, everyone.
Okay. So, I hope everybody can hear everybody. I hope it sounds good. This is the first time I've ever tried anything like this in my channel. Boondock says Colty and Ty. But what we want to do is we're trying to get a little bit of help. We need some help from the community solving a puzzle. And so we're gonna go over what the puzzle is, what it has been, and what we are kind of looking at in the future of solving this puzzle, and where we think it might lead. And that's the most exciting part, is where we think it might lead, because it's going to lead somewhere big. We know that. Okay? So what are we talking about? We're talking about reaction faction. Now, give us a little... I mean, I can give you a little bit of history on Reaction Faction. Reaction Faction is a YouTube channel that they've got several channels, but recently, since I think June 5th, they've been streaming No Man's Sky, which is completely out of the norm for the channel. It's not something that they do. They don't do gaming videos. They are kind of an art house film studio type of indie film studio that does humorous satire, but they don't really do any gaming videos. And so this is way out of the spectrum of what. That being said, what have they been doing? Now, Colt has been around since the beginning, pretty much, where we've started to pick up interest in this. And Colt, what's been going on since, like, I don't know, since you picked it up?
Well, the first time I heard about RF was actually on Cobra's show. He mentioned that there was a guy who claimed to have tape 16 of 16. He was playing what could be possibly 16 of 16, the cassettes that were received by the moderators of Reddit. And he started playing this tape on the 5th, supposedly, the 5th of June. Now, Cobra mentioned, I think that show was on the, I want to say the 7th. That night I immediately went to town researching, you know, about Reaction Faction and Reaction Infraction and Reaction Tea Time and all this sort of stuff. And it just piqued my curiosity, you know. And sat there and I watched him. It took me a little while to figure out that the base cam was in a loop. Appears to be like a 12 or so hour, 16-hour loop is what I kind of initially thought. But the gameplay itself was live, and I could see at that time, you know, he'd wander around and shoot some animals and hop in his ship, and you know, it just piqued my interest, and I wondered, you know, if it was possible that this guy actually had the tape. So I figured I'd just sort of park myself on the channel and try to get him to talk, you know,
right?
Get him to interact, which he did. And one of the first interactions I had with the guy actually is I plugged, you know, I copied and pasted the Luke 16 comm message that was, I guess, the next day, somebody on the 8th, somebody went out to the coordinates that were specified as part of a decoded bit in one of the PDFs or something that was received from on the Waking Titan side. And he immediately kind of spat out a bunch of really cryptic stuff. One of them that he said to me was 32 reboot. When I said Luke 16, he said 32 reboot. And I went to the site, to the Waking Titan site, and I plugged that into the glyph code. And I think this was the period of time, from what I understand, that it was sort of a free-for-all. You could actually put anything in, and it would pop out the PDF and the date for the next transmission on that Arpeggio Island out in the Indian Ocean. But that's kind of how I got started. This guy really piqued my interest. I really wanted to know if he had Side B somewhere. Sean Sky, who was also pretty active in the chat during that, in RF's chat during that time, mentioned that he did have a link up there before, and he thought it might be Side B.
Right.
But he had since taken it down. And so I went ahead and I contacted RF on the business email that they had listed on their YouTube channel. And I said, hey, I sure would like to have a copy of Side B if you've got it. And, well, the following day, I guess it was Saturday morning my time, so maybe Saturday evening UK time, the Waking Titan stuff just really blew up. Everybody was figuring out the new website, and then RF just sort of takes off
right.
as soon as all this stuff starts happening. And at the time, all of us were in there, right? Iceman, Cobra, everybody was like visiting this chat room periodically.
Yeah, it was like the hottest thing going at the time, right?
Exactly. And so I had kind of acquainted myself with AGT, who then convinced me to download the No Man's Connect app, and which we did. And
by AGT, we're talking about Angelo Ford, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I didn't know who he was at the time, I just knew him as the AGT.
Right.
But anyways, we chased him, and his delay, I think, on his Connect app was such that he decided to see if he could anticipate the next landing, the next planet or the next system that RF was going to. So he actually went ahead, and this is after we made several jumps following this guy. And occasionally he'd leave a combo that said Reaction Faction in all caps. But as soon as AGT kind of took off and went ahead, I landed on a planet that was like super high security, Sentinels, toxic, almost died right there on the spot. But I saw, lo and behold, a combo that had what looked like a link, a web link, a URL.
Right.
And I'm sure you remember, Iceman, we tried to figure out what that URL was. We couldn't get it to work.
Right.
And at the same time, we're all talking about this actively in his chat. Like we're just
right.
we're not trying to hide it from him that we're chasing him. We're not trying to hide figuring it all out. We're just, everything's out in the open. And pretty soon after we realized we were at a dead end with the link, he started naming each system that he jumped to, and he had jumped like 20 systems or something. So he went back and renamed the systems one character, of the remainder of the link that ended up being to what appears to be a B-side.
Right. Right, correct. And
so it was
I think what's got us excited about this is I think we need to explain that to people so that they can get excited too. What excites us about this is that this Reaction Faction is highly anomalous in the way that he plays and the communications that he gives. By highly anomalous, I mean that he plays in a style that someone with like 1,500 hours of gameplay would play with, right? He doesn't slow down. He doesn't check up. It's like he's an expert player, right? Which isn't indicative of anything that Reaction Faction's done in the past. So our theory is that it's not actually Reaction Faction playing this. It's got to be something else. And on top of that, if you look at the No Man's Sky Connect app, which Angelo Ford suggested that you get, if you look at RT's flight or Reaction Faction's flight path, Reaction Faction has a completely straight flight path. I mean, I'm talking like laser accuracy, completely straight flight path. But he doesn't plan anything out. It's crazy. When you watch him play, he just skips around through the galactic map like willy-nilly, and then all of a sudden he lands in a spot that's exactly where he's supposed to be in the next jump sequence. It's insane. It's like watching a savant play the game. It's nuts.
Yeah. I think more than the straight line piece, the determination to actually create a visible straight line on the No Man's Sky Connect app from the get-go, from the very beginning, like from his initial playtime, which by the way, I discovered a couple of days ago that he's been playing since probably the 5th or before, and I did so by I jumped back to his earliest position on No Man's Sky Connect, which was on the 7th, and then I traced his discoveries using the galactic map, and I got as far as 22 minutes past midnight on the 6th of June. Of course, if you plot all that stuff out, if you populate the No Man's Sky Connect app all the way to the 7th, you'll see that the determination and sort of meticulous nature of his travel is really more so than the straight line. That's really he wants to be seen kind of in this way.
Right. Well, I mean, if you take any No Man's Sky player, that any one of us that tries to go in a straight line, right? Even if you're going straight towards the center, it's almost impossible to go in a straight line like he does. Like it's laser accurate, and it's just for anybody who's just a normal player. Even with the No Man's Sky Connect app open, it's hard. It would be just about impossible to do what he's doing. And there's that's anomalous. Then you've got the side B that he gave us, which was also anomalous because we found a watermark in the back, which hinted that it might be the master copy, the digital master copy of the side B that all the Reddit mods got. Then on top of that, he was streaming side B before any of the cassettes went out, or before anybody had the cassettes and anybody made the cassettes known. He was already streaming side B, so it would be side A. So it would be impossible for him to fake that, right? I mean, so if that's the case, Dark by Design says, isn't Reaction a confirmed troll? No, I have seen no evidence that confirms Reaction Faction as a troll, and nobody else here has either. There's been some people that have presented supposed evidence that says he's a troll, but all of that can be poked through, and all of that's trumped by the fact that he was streaming side A of the tape, and he gave us the original side B. All that's trumped. All the troll stuff and all the he's not real and blah 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 blah, all that stuff is trumped by the fact that he plays the game like nobody else. He was streaming the tape before anybody else got it. He gave us the side B with the watermark in the background, which nobody else had on the cassette version because it doesn't transfer well over to cassette, right? So all these things put together, it tells me that he's not a troll. He's connected in with the ARG and Hello Games. That's it. That's my opinion, and that's from a month of trying to pick this apart with a fine-tooth comb like an investigator. Now, and that's what I've been doing. Now, however, Colt and Ty here recently, they've been working. See, I'm on PlayStation, and I've got a What you're looking at on my screen here is my creative account. I'm still in the Rasa Mana on my creative account because I had to ditch everything because I did my Infinity series. So I would love to help Colt and Ty with creative mode or normal mode, but I just don't have the time or the wherewithal to spend on it. But they're doing some great things. So what I wanted to do today was get the word out about this, and he's trying to point us to a discovery. He's trying to point us to something. There's a few things that we've seen that we need help discovering, right? We've got one of the things, which is a red giant, which I've never seen in the galactic map before. Is that still there, Colt?
I haven't. Actually, I haven't tried it since the new 0.14 version of the app. But the 0.13 and the 0.12 versions, that thing was really glitching out bad for me. So I haven't seen it since last time we talked about it, which was, I think I want to say 3 weeks ago.
Okay, but from my understanding, if you follow his path straight on to where he's going, I mean laser straight, it points directly to a red giant. And this star, I've got pictures of it on the galactic map inside of the No Man's Sky Connect app. This star, it's a red giant. It's about 50 times bigger than all the other stars around it, and it's got these little blue stars orbiting it, right? Not moving, but it looks like they're all clumped together. And this one red star is bigger than every other star out there, and it's huge, and it's the only red giant I've seen in the game so far. So, and he's pointing directly at it, which means that he wants us to go check it out. Well, if he wants us to go check it out, we need people to help us go check it out. And how would you like to be the first person to find a red giant in the game? So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people to come help us explore this stuff and learn about what we got going on here, because he's pointing us at stuff that is crazy and it's anomalous. So, and something else that we found that was anomalous is Colt went back to a planet that he had already, that Reaction Faction had already discovered and left a comm ball. And he went to go back and read the comm ball, because something special about comm balls, if you don't know, is that once you put them down, once you leave and come back, you can't delete that comm ball. There's no deleting a comm ball. I can't delete your comm ball. You can't delete my comm ball. I can't delete my own comm ball because it will disappear from me. Right? Once you leave and then come back, it disappears. So he had left. Now, what Colt did was he went back to check what the comm ball said, and when he went back to that system, the system had completely changed.
Well, so let me clarify that, because I think you're getting something confused. So the coordinate that I went back to is that which was provided by the Waking Titan ARG. And which, somebody happened to be early on. I think it was on the 8th of June. Somebody happened to be kind of in the vicinity and warped over to that location. And so that would have been where the Instance 16 status combo that said Loop 16, the Loop 16 ball that was there. So I warped back there, actually teleported using the app with that location as the teleport point, and when I got there, I was in space. Now that's never happened to me before when I've plugged in coordinates or when I've jumped to somebody's discovery using the app. I've never just jumped into space, and that of course the hairs on the back of my neck stood up when I got there, and I realized none of the planets had been discovered either.
Right.
And it gave me the impression that not only had the waypoint been deleted as was specified. We haven't got to Montauk yet, but it'll all make sense once we get to Montauk in the discussion here. But anyways, having gone back to the original point and realized that the system had changed. In fact, another odd piece of that is when you're on the galactic map looking at the system, the field which usually indicates who discovered the system, it's just ticking. There's dots there as it's trying to load. It's trying to load something that's not there.
So and what does the lore, the Atlas lore, tell us? It tells us that Nada says that we should look for errors in the simulation, right? And so this kind of fits that, it's really an error in the simulation. And then another error in the simulation happened in this space where Reaction Faction made a turn. He doglegged to the right, and in that little space of area, there's this part of the galaxy that will corrupt your save file. And Reaction Faction actually helped him through that to where Colt was able to kind of get around the glitch that corrupted his save file and re-upload, get back into the game using that. And Reaction Faction is the one that pointed him in the direction of how to do that. So he already knew how to do that before Colt ever ran into the problem. He gave Colt the solution to his problem so that he could keep on following him. And I don't know anybody else who could do that except for maybe a beta tester or a dev that could do that. Or possibly even a modder, that could do that. So this person has intimate knowledge of how this game works, and by intimate knowledge, I'm talking about XML intimate knowledge, right? Like actual programming language intimate knowledge about how this game works. And so that narrows the field down of who this might be. And not that we're trying to find out who this is, but it lends credibility to what they're trying to do, right? So if this is somebody important that's obviously related to the game development in some way, then we need to look at wherever they're pointing us at. Everything about the way this guy plays says game developer or game tester or possibly Sean Murray himself, but it's definitely not Reaction Faction. I can tell you that right now. I mean, there's nothing that this dude has done that says to me a hairy hippie that lives in Scandinavia. You know what I mean? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I've thought there's one... I mean, the hired hand piece, given... Armed with the right information, they could have been hired by the ARG or whatever the case may be. I mean, I think that regardless, the behavior that we've seen, and Ty and Daffy can, back me up on this, the behavior that we've seen is not that of a troll. It's that of somebody who's on a mission, who's helpful and glad to have some sort of followers, I suppose, to the end result, whatever that may be. And so when you enter into the game and you kind of watch him as much as we watch him, you realize that he does have some pretty intimate knowledge about the game mechanics. Number one, we kind of nicknamed him the Glitch Master. I mean, if you go over to his stream right now, you'll see what I'm talking about. He found some little place. He went right to this little place, kind of in this little outcrop of rock, and he pushed himself against the rock and then dropped down into, dropped into the middle of the planet or down at the water line. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to shoot down to the water line with a grenade launcher, but anyways, he just suddenly just dropped down, and all the ground cover and everything is above him, and he's sitting kind of floating in the water down below all this stuff. And we've seen this and we get all crazy about it. People post look at this glitch I found, but he does this
and with no effort. It's not like he looks for an hour for the glitch. He just walks right over to it and does it.
Exactly. He just goes right over to it and just bam, here's a really awesome glitch,
Right. Like he's got it's like he plays the game like he's sitting next to a debug screen.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And the thing is, on the No Man's Sky Connect app, you can see what mods people are using.
Right.
And he's apparently just in creative mode. He's not using any mods. I have seen guys use mods that are like debugger mods, and they're meant for people that are designing mods for the game, and they're used by devs to sort of give an output that they're looking for, so they can make corrections to the code. And but this guy seems to just know. Like, for example, he'll drop out of the atmosphere, land right next to an abandoned building, and just he'll walk into the abandoned building, kind of walk around inside, and then pop out the door and just stare at a tree for 5 hours. So I'll get home from work and I'll go in there and check out the terminal that's in there, and it'll have something like, referencing an embedded visual in the audio of the recording, just something very like pertinent to the ARG and to where we find ourselves in the whole process at the moment. And it's just like, it just leaves you kind of like, what the heck? How did he even know that that's, what was going to be there? He didn't even look at the terminal himself.
Right. And so who all do we have following Reaction Faction right now that's actually actively working on this on a daily basis? How many people do we have? Well,
we got four.
Four? We've got 4 people out of the millions of people that have played No Man's Sky. We've got 4 people working on this.
Right.
And so for a month straight, Colt has been working tirelessly to follow this guy, to document as much as he can. Ty has now been in this for like, what, 2 or 3 weeks?
Yep.
Then you've got Daffy, who has recently joined. And
I joined Ty, I think.
Right.
Yeah, right after Ty.
Right after Ty, right. And we've got also, who else do we have? Daniel?
Yeah, he's the newbie.
He's the new guy. So, what we really need, there's a couple of things that come to mind, right? With all the clues that he's given us, and look, we can give you guys more information if you want it, if you need it. If this sounds like something that you'd want to be a part of, if you want to be a part of solving this puzzle, a part of the mystery, a part of the intrigue, a part of the adventure that is No Man's Sky, if you want to be an active participant instead of just watching somebody synopsize a video about Waking Titan, if you actually want to get in there and get your hands dirty and be a part of the team that's going after the secrets that lie within the universe of No Man's Sky, if you want to be a part of that, we need your help, because there's not enough people doing this, and we've got theories out there that need more people than just the 4 that we have. Like, for instance, last night I thought of a good thing that we need to test. We need to go back to that system that's changed and see if there is a lone multiplayer instance running in that system, but we don't have enough people to all get there at the same time. Because how cool would it be to have you and another guy on like PC or PlayStation go to a system and all of a sudden you can see one another or something like that? It seems to be that if you were going to change a system in the game, like completely change the system and then therefore make it undiscovered, usually if Hello Games were to do something like that, they'd need to push out an update, but somehow this has changed with no update involved. So which tells me is that there's some mechanism within the game that either caused it to do that, it either caused it to glitch, or it's a developer that has set up a staging area for the new update. And but we need people to test out. We need people to go there and see if they can see one another on a planet. But if we don't have enough people on PC and PlayStation to be in the same system together, then we can't test any of this stuff, and we need to test it. So
there's a lot of good ideas. Iceman is absolutely right. We get people giving us ideas all the time, and it's been that way since the beginning. There's a bunch of folks that follow this and are skeptical and are open-minded about this, and they're kind of in the closet right now. They don't want to, because the popular sort of opinion on all the podcast shows is that this guy's a troll. But the reality is there's a lot of people that are curious about it and want to know more and are glad that me and Ty and Daff are out here following this guy. At least we got eyes on target. So it's important, I think, to sort of explore all these different ideas that people have, because there's a lot of good ideas, but there's not enough time, to work full time or to have a family and also chase RF. And so we're kind of going on shifts. We're doing shift work. Daff's in the UK, Ty's Central Time US, and on Pacific Time US. We have some gaps in coverage that we would like filled. That would be the first step. But also, we need people that can understand that this is a game. It's a game, and it seems like everybody's trying to figure out who's behind the game. rather than play the game. And I've emphasized this so many times. I sound like a broken record. But if you play the game with RF, he plays back.
Right.
And when he plays back, he leaves clues. And he leaves interesting things. So I continued to follow. I think it's important to mention Montauk before we get too far down the road.
Sure.
So the B-side tape or audio that he provided us, there was a guy named Phil Craven, who's a great guy. You might see him pop up on people's chats periodically. He offered to run the B-side through a spectrograph, and we found lots of numbers in the background, right? Tons of numbers. There was the code, which is on the other tapes, that means portal, and then there was tons and tons of repeating digits, all the way to the end of the tape, from the beginning to the end. And somebody, I don't know who they were, their screen name was Clickbait, said, I was bored. This was 2 days after we received the audio, so this is kind of that. It emphasizes the point that the more people that work on it, the more we discover more quickly. It took 2 days for somebody to actually sit down and take all those numbers and put them, each little number in a graph paper box and run through it, and then he kind of saw what looked like a pattern, and so he decided to remove some zeros or some ones or whatever. And lo and behold, it says the words are spelled out in the numbers themselves, so you can see the outline of the words. Meet me at Montauk.
Right.
And again, this was all going on. All this discussion was happening on RF's chat. And soon as the words were uttered or chatted, meet me at Montauk, RF went from having sat and done nothing for a day and a half to jump, right? And so I followed along, and he landed on a planet in this one system. Immediately landed, got out, saved, got back in, and flew out to space and stared at this little moon. And he just sat there, and he wasn't close enough for it to populate the name of the moon or anything, but I hadn't seen him do that before. I hadn't seen him just sit there and stare at a planet or a moon. He's done that a few times since, but this time he was just out of reach, where it wouldn't populate the name. And so I did the same thing. I jumped into the planet, and then I went out to space, and I started approaching his position, and got a little closer. And at this point, there's 15 or 20 people on my stream. I started streaming at this point in time. Orbit TV and Cobra and all these guys were there. And I pushed a little closer. Boone was there. Iceman was there. Pushed a little closer, and bam, Montauk. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I look. I didn't even go to the galactic map, or I didn't pay attention to who discovered the system, but the moon was discovered by instance 16 status. Of course, everybody said, oh, well, it's just RF playing as somebody else.
Right.
Now I've looked at RF's Steam page, and I've seen all his aliases, and none of them are instance 16 status. That doesn't mean he doesn't have another account someplace, but so I went down there, and immediately, as Iceman and Boone can attest to, Sentinels were just attacking me right off the bat. Just as soon as I got off the ship, I go up to the little comm ball. There's comm ball there. The comm ball laid by instance 16 status, and it says loop 16 success, waypoints deleted. Right. At that point, I contacted AGT because I'm still following this guy, and I just don't have enough time to go figure out a time, and I'm not a very good navigator on the galactic map, really, especially not at that time. And so he went out and tried to look for the system. Now, this is a guy who's been all over the dang galaxy. He's kind of one of the pros out there.
Right, he's no slouch.
No, and he couldn't even find the system, you know. And so finally we've had some slow days, and so I decided to, once I figured out how to manually input the coordinates into No Man's Sky Connect, I went ahead and went back there, and that's when I discovered that there's literally no planet that's there. It's not loading the discovery name, and this is the first waypoint, from instance 16 status. I was like, I gotta go check this out. So finally I had some time, and so the loop 16 error, with the code, that's gone, and so is the planet that it was sitting on. And so from that point, he changed course. He was beelining from his initial position in the game, which I tracked, like I said earlier, I tracked back to. He was beelining it to Montauk the whole time, and then he after Montauk, he drastically alters course and starts heading towards the center.
Right. It was about a 30-degree turn, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But and then after that, something that we noticed is that the curve actually matches, or not the curve, it's really an angle. The angle actually matches it. Now I'm fitting to get into like geometry and calculus here, but the galaxy that we're in is the Euclid galaxy. Okay, now Euclid is a famous mathematician, right? And one of the things he's famous for is proving the Pythagorean theorem, right? And how he did that was a diagram called Euclid's proof of the Pythagorean theorem. Well, if you look at that diagram, the turn that he made matches an angle on that diagram. It's one of the outside edge angles of that diagram of Euclid's proof of the Pythagorean theorem. Well, the next person to deal with the Euclid's proof of the Pythagorean theorem was Hilbert. And Hilbert, another famous mathematician, said that Euclid was working under some assumptions, and he cleared that up by creating 20 what did he call them? Basically 20 rules by which you go about solving geometry problems. Well, at any rate, what's the next galaxy? It's the Hilbert dimension, right? So so the interesting thing is that this angle matches this. Well, when you look at the Euclid's proof of the Pythagorean theorem graph or drawing, it actually once you make two of the sides the same exact length, it becomes a three-dimensional object, and we need somebody to check out some of the points on that. So if you were to overlay that on the galaxy map, you would be able to find specific points of interest within the galaxy that he may be pointing us at, and we need people to check that too.
Yeah, see, go ahead, Daph.
Wait, just restart this game.
Say again, Daph?
Just restarted his game. He's sitting in his ship now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I see that.
Hey, Slow.
Yeah, he got himself into a mega glitch there.
Let me say hi to a few people in the chat. We've got Slobodon, Sean Sky, Hova Steve, Dark, of course, is here. We got Jordan 276. We have a bunch of people. Banana Republic is here. Ross Johnson is here. Boondock Games is here. So thank you, everybody, for coming to the show and listening to us talk about this whole reaction faction puzzle. Which at this point we ought to call it. I guess there's no other thing to call it but reaction faction puzzle, because we don't know who it is, but we know it's not reaction faction. But it's obviously, I don't think that a couple of art school majors would know anything about the Euclid's proof of the Pythagorean theorem. That's just me.
Yeah, there's no telling. I mean, there's no telling, but the point is that they have intimate knowledge of the game, the dynamics of the game. So the last piece about Montauk, though, is that after he took off from Montauk, I was kind of disheartened a little bit, because I thought, well, that surely this, there's this massive, key portal here on Montauk somewhere. And when he took off, I was like, oh gosh, and I was like, am I supposed to follow you or what? Is what I put on his chat. And when I got home that evening from work, I just kind of did one more sweep of the planet, and I found his comball that had a link to a John Denver song called "Follow Me" on YouTube.
Right.
And I was like, I think I commented on his chat something to the effect of like, "Thanks for the motivation. I'll be on my way now," kind of thing. And right after that, it was like maybe an hour or two, he started playing this really so he has what's playing now wasn't playing before. There was no John Denver or slowed down John Denver version. I think it was you, Iceman. He was like, hey, man, you need to go to his stream right now and turn up the sound. And I'm like, okay. And there's the slowed down version of John Denver. Well, just so happens Phil Craven pops in again with his audio expertise and goes ahead and runs a spectrograph on that. And you can see if you go to my Twitter, you can see all these pictures, but the answer is in the past, the future is ending. was the message embedded in the left channel audio of that slowed down John Denver song. And it's also important to note, and Cobra has pointed this out to me personally, and I think to some other people, is that he's playing copyrighted music over and over and over and over and over again, and yet he has not been taken down once. They've got a monetized YouTube channel. They've had infractions with YouTube before. If you look at their Twitter, they'll show you their infraction list. But here you got a group that is basically playing a song by 65 Days of Static, which I tried to play on my stream one time, and I got immediately warned by YouTube about playing 65 Days of Static and John Denver, both of them. I got warned about both of them, and so the fact that they haven't been struck down and removed yet after over a month is really kind of a testament to, you ought to.
Right. They obviously have 65 days and Hello Games' blessing to be doing what they're doing, or else they would have stopped them by now.
Right. I mean,
that's the point.
If Hello Games really said they were a troll, don't you think they would have ended it by now?
Right. Yeah, of course. If I'm Hello Games and these people are detracting from the ARG, which I paid good money to set up, and they are trolling it, I'm going to shut them down. No one's going to pay $2,000 or $3,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 for a worldwide ARG, and then have somebody ruin it by trolling on YouTube. That's not going to happen. They've got too much invested into the ARG to let that happen. They would have taken them off a long time ago.
It fails the logic test, doesn't it?
It does. It totally fails the logic test, and I think that's what people kind of forget is that we're all in a game. We're all playing. There's always more people playing the game. Like, let's say Monopoly, right? We're not playing chess. Chess is a two-person game, right? Where you've got one person on one side, one person on the other, and that's kind of how people think of the ARG. Is you've got the ARG on one side and then the community on the other, and that's not necessarily the case. There may be more players than what we think there are, and on top of that, if Reaction Faction, let's say even he is a troll. Okay, let's put that out there. Let's say he is a troll. If he wants to be part of the ARG by playing it his own way, he just made himself part of the ARG. I mean, that's what we're all doing. That's if you want to try to solve the ARG, there's no rules as to how you can play an ARG. So it may or may not be convenient for whoever's put together the ARG, but they had better adapt. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
yes.
Even if that is the case, which I'm not saying it is, it definitely is not, in my opinion. It's perfectly fine to play the ARG, considering the fact that they haven't. The whole premise of the ARG is kind of to pull the wool over your eyes. So if somebody pulls the wool back off, you can't go, "Ooh, that's foul play,"
Right. So speaking of which, and people playing and help needed and all of this stuff, about a week after Montauk, I think it was, Mr. Ty and Mr. Daffy joined up. Now, if you've thought to yourself, boy, I'd sure like to go chase after, and we got something like 30 people watching, and I'm sure from different platforms. If you've thought to yourself, I'm a PS4 player, I'd like to go get involved with this, but I just there's no way I can make it over there. Okay, you got two guys on this show right now, Ty and Daff, that have manually navigated from their positions close to center to my position at the time, just a little system in the middle of nowhere, all right, using the Pilgrim Star app and some help from the No Man's Connect app. They did not teleport. Now, Ty's on creative mode, so he doesn't have to worry about warp cells and dying all the time, but it's still quite a feat to navigate that distance. You know, the Pilgrim Star app only brings you within 100 light years of a position, which isn't really that great when you're trying to pinpoint an exact system. So here we got, you know, us guys constantly sharing screenshots of system names and coordinates and all this sort of stuff, putting down signal cords for each other just to line up, right? And Ty even went to Montauk before he started his journey towards me. Gave Daff like a day or so to catch up, and then we all ended up meeting together. You know, but Daff is playing in normal mode, which means he's got to have the warp cells. He's got to watch out for the crazy Diplos.
Yeah. So
basically, those guys deserve big props. And so if you're out there wondering how you can join and you don't have confidence in your capability, people have done it. So come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And even on the PlayStation side, I mean, I can't see exactly what's going on except for watching y'all stream, watching RF. But I can be there on the planet if there's something of interest that should be on the planet that we need to be looking for. You know, I'm in creative mode. I don't need anything. I can run around. I can go check other planets. I can do whatever to see if there's any significance as far as where he did land. I can jump ahead, follow the path to the center to see where his next stop is going to be. Give y'all a heads up. Hey, I'm going to bed. Here's his next stop if he does move while y'all are out. So I mean, there is stuff that PlayStation guys can do. I sit there, I run my stream as long as my internet will let me. But anytime I'm parked, I drop a beacon down to where I can see coordinates, kind of the layout of the planet. So if anybody stops in, they can easily check the coordinates and say, okay, well, here I am. Plug in the Pilgrim Star, come join me. I'm used to being in a hub where every system around me is discovered, and I'm after it by myself now. But I haven't seen a discovery out there in 3 weeks now. So,
right.
Just because you're on PlayStation, you can't see exactly what's going on. You know, you're still there. You're still checking for clues. You're still looking around. Still do your part that way also.
Still can find the same monoliths and portals and everything else that we found.
Right.
I actually set my base up on Montauk.
Well, before we go ahead and wrap this up, I wanted to give everybody that wants to join in with the fun. How do they get a hold of you guys? How do they get a hold of us? I'm guessing they can look us up on Facebook. We've been using Facebook Messenger to communicate a lot. That's what we're using right now. We're calling on Facebook Messenger. We've got a group that's called Reaction Faction Hunt, or RF Hunt. If you friend one of us, you've got Ty Beecham, Colton Chapman, and Kristin R Barsell. That's Iceman Third ID. If you friend one of us, we can get you in the group, and you guys can go ahead and get started. Helping us out, going to different places and exploring stuff where I can guarantee you're going to find something that is amazing. So if you want to do that, if you want to find something that's amazing and you want to help us out, because this really has been one of the funnest parts of playing No Man's Sky for me is following this dude around and seeing all the crazy stuff that he's able to do and that he has pointed us at. So if you want to be a part of that, come on. And I'll try to put all the information in the description after the video posts, links and everything else. So just wait for that, and then give us a holler. Does that sound good for you guys?
Yeah. Now, all three of us, we all stream our gameplay from time to time. So if you're interested, you're just on YouTube, leave a comment in the chat there. Say I'm interested. Facebook, I made a big post, posted in 3 of the main No Man's Sky groups last night. Comment on there, hey, I'm interested. Colt and me are both on Twitter. Get us on there. Trying to make as many avenues available as possible if you are interested. Contact us.
Cool. Well, I think that unless you guys want to add something else, I think that's pretty much it. You guys are just about in the loop as we are about this stuff at this point. Any other questions is going to really just be supplementary. or supplementary. I don't know how you would even say that. I think I just made up an English word. Anyway,
I will throw this out there. We trying to determine his path and an ETA on where he might reach. We have figured out on his progression from his estimated starting point. We'll be reaching the center around August 21st.
Okay, so around August 21st, which would be the original, or not the original, but the pushed back release date, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
somewhere around.
Somewhere around there.
So Boondock says that he'd like to be added into the loop. He can't really solve anything, but he says he wants to keep up on it. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to give you an invite, Boone. But I think that's it. I think we pretty much covered just about everything.
Well, I just want to add that we've skimmed the surface.
Right.
Yeah, there's a ton more, and in the interest of time, I'm sure we'll just contact us if you want to know more. There's, especially this week has been a really kind of mysterious one. We've tried to engage RF a little more with dialogue on his stream, and he's reciprocated in kind with movements and
Yesterday was quite interesting. When Daniel joined us, I commented in there and I put each 4 of the players' names that were following him. Like almost immediately, he jumps in the ship and takes off.
Yep.
Of course, we're sitting there commenting on his screen. Okay, we're with you. What do you need? Show us something, whatever. And he was actively writing back. Of course, all he does is emoji. He was actively responding.
Well,
for comment.
Yeah, exactly. And Daff the other day noticed these strange flashes that were occurring in the sky. And if you look on, I think me and Ty's Twitter, you'll see a picture of it. It's like it was initially it started with this strange flash that would occur periodically, and we thought it might have something to do with ships moving, some sort of glitch associated with that. But I managed to slow down the frame rate, and it's like 2 frames, where it's this perfectly spherical kind of flash with these God rays coming out of it, like it was placed there on purpose in the game, although I've never seen it before. Periodically you catch a little flash out of the corner of your eye when you're in gameplay, but this started happening more and more and more frequently. Like it started off real slow, like where it was difficult to catch. You had to slow down and actually pause the game in order to capture a screenshot. And then it became more and more frequent, and this was leading up to the 4th guy joining up. It was almost like a fireworks show right before he took off, a few moments after Daniel joined up and we were all in RF's chat. I'm talking like frequent, and to the point where you could actually make out. So they had increased the frame rate, they increased the number of frames that contained the image, so that you could actually, without having to slow it down, you could actually see that it looked like this exploding star kind of thing. What's that, Daff?
It got to the point where it was like bam, 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 bam. It was that regular.
Exactly. And then Daniel joined up, which is what he kind of hinted at, wanting 4 people at a minimum. Very early on, when I was starting to follow him, I was like, you want follow. After I think it was right after the John Denver song, I was like, how many people do you need following you? 4, 16, how many? And he made the little like icons with like 2 little dudes and like some kind of chick-looking thing, and then 2 other little dudes, all holding hands. And so now we've achieved that number, and it went from flash, 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 flash to nothing. Like he was trying to get our attention or something. I'm not sure. And also when we started commenting on his chat again is when it stopped. So I think it was kind of an attention getter. Like we were all like really curious about it, and so we spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. And it kind of led to the train. He like leads us down these sort of trains of thought, and this train of thought ended up leading us back to deciding that we wanted to comment more on his stream, if that makes sense.
Right. He wants to interact with us a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely he does. Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's safe to say.
So, I think I need to wrap this up before my internet dies, because my internet has a habit of doing that. So, I've been Iceman 3rd ID. Colt C is here. Ty Beecham is here, and Daffy is here, and and then we've got Daniel. We'll all be waiting in the RF chat on Facebook, in the Facebook messages, which I'll put. Like I said, I'll put in all of our information in the description of this video if you want to go ahead and get a hold of us. But anyway, guys, thank you for coming to the stream. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you're as excited about all this stuff as I am. I'm sorry I couldn't show you pictures of what I've got going on, but like I said, I'm on my PlayStation, and I don't really have the capability of streaming like some other people do, like with their computers and showing you a bunch of different stuff or whatever. But I try to engage you guys with as much interesting conversations as I could to get you guys excited about what we're excited about. And I hope you guys look into it a little bit more to see what all this RF stuff's about. And anyway, thank you for coming to the channel, guys. Thank you guys for coming on the show. I really appreciate you guys.
Hey, thanks for having us, Iceman.
Yep. But I think at this point, I'm going to jump down here with this pearl that I've thrown into a hole and in the stream.